Hi, everyone. Well, this morning my phone rings, so I pick it up and answer it, and it says it's busy, but it's still ringing. So I put it on the thing you set it on, still ringing. So I pick it up again, same thing happened. It says it's busy, won't let me answer it. Hang it up again. So this person is now saying they're leaving a message. So I pick it up. Finally, I get through to them. That's my story. Anyway, speaking of, my guest has been here once before, Michael Coleman. He is the founder, director, and CEO of Rebel West Pictures. He is also the president and CEO at Story Institute. Welcome back to the show, Michael.
Thanks for having me. Thank you very much.
You like my story?
I loved your story. I love your story. Everybody's got a story. Stories are powerful.
I think I blame it on poltergeist getting into my electronics, but now I have another issue. Sometimes when I turn my television on, people talk as if they're aliens.
Oh, wow.
Well,
There are a lot of subscription channels out there. Maybe that's just one of the new channels we get.
Could be. So now tell me about Story Institute.
Yeah. Story Institute was founded by a bunch of professional actors and basically wanted to create the kind of school we wish we could have gone to when we were all starting out. So this is a collection of professional on-camera and voice actors from various TV shows, video games, cartoons, and all that. So we got a bunch of us together, and a bunch of us working actors got together, and we created a curriculum that was a little unique and a little different. And it's based on what the common habits are of what we do in our careers and most of our friends that are consistently working in the industry.
Okay.
So a lot of times when you build an academic program, and this is an accredited post-secondary school like any private career training college or university, and we just decided to, rather than teach people what everybody thinks they should know, we said, well, what are some of the common things we all do? And why don't we teach that? Because if those are our habits, they're probably effective. And it's been working. So we have lots of students here that come here and they've been voicing different cartoons and video games and working on different cool TV shows and movies. And it's lots of fun, and it keeps it exciting for me because I've been now working in the industry for 30 years. So for me, it's really exciting to see some other people get a chance to have their first bookings or their first day on set, or seeing themselves on TV, or playing a video game with their own voice, those sorts of things. So yeah, it's been a real cool thing, and we get to do things a little differently here. So
that sounds awesome. It's kind of interesting because I've done some student films, and again, you have no idea until you actually do something what's involved, right?
There's a lot involved, and what's really fascinating is that the DNA of story is universal. One of the things that always attracted me to being a storyteller is it's a universal language, and we all have our unique spins on it, but the core fundamentals of messaging in terms of central themes or thematic statements, they're universal around the world, and it creates a community or a family of artists. And some of us choose to pick it up with the pen, others with our face or our voice, others with a lens. And there's so many different ways that people can contribute to a story, and so many people go into one of these things. So our focus right now here at Story Institute is working primarily on actors, again, for cartoons, video games, movies, and TV shows. But there's so many different ways that an actor can make money professionally. So one of the core foundations of what we do is multiple revenue streams. So we get people to realize that there's lots of opportunities in Vancouver for the mainstream work, like all the stuff with Hallmark and CW and Netflix and Disney and all the big companies that are here. But there's also ways to self-generate work as well. And there's ways to create different opportunities to make money with your art. And one of the things that I've always been a big believer in is that you don't have to choose to be happy or make money. You can actually do both at the same time if you line it up right. So that's what we do here, is we help people find that. And 20% of our program is actually just a business class, teaching people how to run their business, how to run your finances, how to run your marketing, how to run your operations, your administrative. It's one of the things that I believe was missing for a long time in the creative arts. And that's what created this idea that, well, what are you going to do if there's no work? And what are you going to do if nobody likes you? And it seems like such a fickle business and all these sorts of things. But any business is if you don't have somebody running it. And what actors for generations have learned is that oh, we run the business. So some of us discover it and we're like, oh, I am the president and CEO of my own business as an actor. And thankfully I realized that, otherwise my business wouldn't have done very well. And that's, one of the core foundations of what we do here.
Can you give me like a concrete example of something you would teach?
Sure. So one of the concrete things we teach actors how to do on the business side of things is how to run your taxes. What's a write-off? How do you use it? When do you get a GST number and why? What are do you need a bookkeeper, or what are some of the simple bookkeeping things you can do in terms of managing your money? When you're an independent contractor, you don't have money taken off your checks going to the government for your taxes. You do that later on in the year. So how do you manage your finances? What's a system that you can implement to ensure that you're always putting aside enough money for what you want, for what you need, and then what you have to pay in taxes? And there's a lot of stuff. I know there's a lot of memes out there on various social media sites about this is what they should have taught us in high school, and they're not wrong. So we teach it to them after high school in this school, because it's one of the key things is learning how to do that if you want to manage a proper business.
Right. Now, what happens if an actor has an agent? Doesn't that change everything for them?
No, and that's actually one of the bigger misperceptions. So agents are one of the most valuable peers we have in our industry, in terms of we work with them. We don't work for agents. Agents don't work for us. We work collaboratively together. So that's why it's always interesting when you find an agent, because the agent actor relationship is really unique in the sense that an agent will wake up every morning 40, 50, 60, 70 hours a week, and they will work for an actor, usually a group of actors, and they will do it for free. They will have no money that comes in. And every time an actor books a gig, the agent will take 15% of the money that comes in and none of the credit. So I've always found it a fascinating industry to get into when people decide that they want to be representation for professional actors, because it's a big risk. That's a risky business. But there's also, if you think about it, if you are an agent and you find yourself a bunch of actors that are well trained and can deliver on set, then you can actually, a lot of agents do really well. Basically, an agent and an actor's relationship, the two primary elements that an agent does for an actor is they're the ones who source all the auditions, so they find the job opportunities, and then the actor goes in to deliver the job opportunity through the audition. And if they book it, then the agent negotiates the contract or the wage or the salary or compensation. So those are the primary things. Now, when you're working with an agent, there's also incredible opportunities to bend their ear in terms of career guidance and, what should we do in terms of archetypes or headshots and demo reels, and what are some marketing tools or some resources we can create to help that agent get you into more rooms. But I think there's often been a misunderstanding that the agent would manage your career. And I think that's where a lot of actors have had difficulty in the past. And I say that also with the full disclosure that the agents in Vancouver are technically agents / managers, and as managers they do help guide your career and advise you and help find different things. So I don't want to take away from the tremendous amount of value and work that they do, but that doesn't negate the incredible responsibility there is on the actor to still manage and be accountable for what you bring to the whole entire business, which is quite considerable.
Right. Well, one of the things you mentioned there was good training for an actor. I'm not a good actor. I did take some training, and I realized that the first teacher wasn't the best, but I didn't know that because I'd never had any training before.
Sure.
I didn't know that until I left that and went to somebody else, and it's like, whoa. So how does an actor, like again, I don't know if that's part of what you do, but what Story Institute does, do they talk about training and where they get training?
It's actually a really interesting philosophical point you bring up, that one of the things that I'm most proud of what we do here is we have a level of training where it's never seeking the instructor's approval or just doing what we say. We give you the tools and resources here so that each individual understands how stories work,
Right.
at their fundamental core, and we understand how they're delivered in different platforms, whether it be live or on camera or via a recording studio, and we give you the tools so that you know if you did a good job. So all acting is just behaving truthfully under imaginary circumstances, and if you do that and you serve the story, in other words, like every story is either a question we ask the universe or a statement we declare to the universe, and every scene is effectively just an argument or a piece of that puzzle, either confirming or questioning that central question or thematic statement. And every actor is merely a piece within each of those scenes and in a larger arc over a series of scenes that help articulate support or challenges or questions for whatever that central question or thematic statement is. And when we break it down into those sorts of, when we break it down to the level of specificity, then all story is a scientific or mathematical equation, and the actor's role is very specific. But the actor needs to understand, when you're serving the story, what is the question that's being asked or the statement being made, then what is each scene that you're in, what is it doing, what is this scene asking us or telling us, and then further, what are you in your role, how are you contributing to that question or that statement? And when actors start understanding that DNA, and then they understand all the technical and all the mathematical stuff, then we need to ask ourselves, how do we organically put that in our body so we believe it's happening to us right now? So there's that technical aspect of the science and the math, and then there's the organic aspect of understanding, how do I access my emotions authentically? How do I access my motivations, more importantly, authentically? And how do I put the proper risk reward in all we do? Acting is just real life with the boring bits cut out. So how do we mathematically and organically marry those together? And it's something that if we could teach it in a weekend, we would. It can't be learned in a weekend. It's the kind of thing that if people really want to work at a professional level, it's actually about 6 months out of your life, 4 hours a day. And if you do that, you can have the core foundations to be able to be on sets with the biggest names in the world and know what you're doing. Not just look like you know what you're doing, but actually know what you're doing, and have intelligent, fun conversations about story with some of the great filmmakers and artists that you might have. I've got to work with some of my favorite people I grew up watching. I've been directed by some of my favorite directors of all time, and I've had some of my favorite writers put words in my mouth as I perform them. It's such an incredible gift and an honor to do. But yeah, there's a lot to it, but it can be done in a 6-month time if people are willing to make that commitment in their lives.
Right. Yeah. And if you think about 6 months in your lifetime, your lifetime career, 6 months is nothing, right?
Well, that's exactly it. If you wanted to do almost any other career in the world, it would take a lot longer than 6 months.
Yeah.
And, a lot of people compare, because what we do is we're in the education field, but we're also in the small business field. So, most small business take a year or two at least to kind of get up and running and figure it all out and learn what you need to learn to operate that business. So acting is no different than any of the other small businesses. It's a really cool thing if people want to do this. There's a much more consistent and tangible road in front of you if you learn how to do goal setting and learn how to identify and recognize obstacles in front of you. And if they don't align or get in the way of what your goals are, what are some different opportunities you have to navigate around them? And it's all real stuff, and it's all lots of answers. And fortunately, lots and lots of great people have paved the way before us. So we don't have to invent it from scratch. We just have to follow what's been consistently working and put it in our own bodies.
Right. Now, at any given time, how many actors, whether they're voiceover or in movies, how many do you work with at a time? Like, let's just currently, how many do you have?
Yeah, so right now we have 2 groups right now of 12, and we will work with up to 4 groups of 12 at a time. And sometimes it's more, sometimes it's less. But I would say consistently, we're usually working around 2 to 3 groups of 12, if not 4. And each group gets 4 hours of instructor time, and each group, while they're here, you're not just learning while you're up performing. It's every class of 4 hours, you're engaged for the entire 4 hours, and you're thinking and you're building and you're creating tools for your tool belts. And Yeah, I feel really lucky. I have been fortunate to work with some really cool people, and some of them have gone on to be some of my favorite characters on some of my favorite TV shows, and that's always a really cool thing to see. But yeah.
I've talked to a number of people who would like to do more, but for them, like, why is everything in Vancouver? You know, I'm out in Chilliwack, and there's not
Yeah.
much out on this end for people. Do you think there's a reason why? I mean, I understand that there's more industry, there's more options there in Vancouver, but there's so many people at this end of of British Columbia, the Fraser Valley, who would love to be part of it, but without having to go out to Vancouver all the time, especially now that traffic is insane.
Sure. Well, actually, one of the interesting things right now, there's actually more and more work has been going that way in recent years. So one of the reasons Vancouver is so central is a lot of the key personnel that help get a project triggered is, like the stars of the show or the directors or producers are from Los Angeles, and they want to be able to fly up and have it be right here. That being said, there's a lot of production that happens in Maple Ridge, Fort Langley, Aldergrove. There's a lot of really cool incentives that those different geographical areas have created to create more work opportunities for everybody. And I think we're only going to see that increase. We're starting to see more and more work happening as far as Kelowna, Victoria, Prince George. So there are lots and lots and lots of cool growth opportunities happening for the province of British Columbia. And I think we just got to keep creating really strong, talented performers. And if we keep a diversified, strong pool, people will keep coming here.
Yeah, for sure. No, you talked about actors. What about the voiceover? What kind of training or how different is it for an actor? Sorry, for a trainer as opposed to an actor?
Sure. So for me, I knew what you meant. For all actors, whether it's on stage or on camera or in a recording booth, again, the goal is to perform truthfully under imaginary circumstances, and that never changes. When you're recording for voiceovers like cartoons and video games, for example, I mean, even within there's lots of different tones or styles or pacing or, energies and, like whether it's live action or some of the like a Nickelodeon live action or some of the more wacky stuff. Sometimes we do these big animated performances, and sometimes it just sounds like two real people talking. The big difference is learning how to use the microphone. It's learning some of just the technical elements of making sure that you don't make popping sounds when you're breathing so close into the mic. It's making sure that you make all of the dialogue sound active and you don't just sound like somebody standing in a booth by yourself saying words out loud. There's a lot to the technical elements, and there's a lot to how do you put it organically in your body so that you suspend disbelief, and while you're in the recording studio, you see what's happening, you feel what's happening, and you move your body around without making any noise because we can't pick that up on the microphone. But there's a lot of different things we do in a recording studio to make it come alive. One of my favorite examples of this is in the movie Mrs. Doubtfire with Robin Williams. There's a clip of him voicing a cartoon at the beginning of that film, and that's kind of what it looks like. And it's loads of fun, and to make it all real and to make it all real to the performer, there's different things that we learn in terms of technical and organic to put it in our bodies and to understand the text and the equipment around us to make it all come alive.
Right. And when you say organic, I'm just thinking about like if I'm watching a movie or a show, whatever it is, when I believe that character is that character and not the person I know who's done different roles, then that's organic, right? Like when you forget that they're a real person away from that show.
Yeah, well, and so much of it is, it's in acting, the key is to never pretend. The idea is to always to find those same elements of that character in yourself, and then believe you are that person or that character, and then how do you bring that to life with sincerity? It's one of my favorite things in this industry. One of the indicators that somebody's doing a great job is whenever somebody plays a really great villain, and and people get on social media and they just hate that person in real life, and you're like, that's just a really great actor. Like,
Yeah.
they're probably the sweetest human being outside of that role. But you're actually giving them compliments, not condemning them for that wonderful thing they're doing.
Very good. That is so cool. Now, you have a website, right?
We do. It's storyinstitute.ca, and
Okay.
that will list all the programs we have. We have programs for kids as young as 6 all the way up to adults. So
Mhm.
we have lots of really super fun, cool kids programs, and those kids programs are often taught by various actors that have worked on different shows the kids may or may not have watched. Like, our teachers have all worked on shows like Dragon Ball Z and My Little Pony and Ninjago and all these sort of fun cartoons, and other shows for the CW like Riverdale or Charmed or a bunch of these sorts of things. So it's a really cool, fun thing to also get to have somebody teach you that's really done it and say, this isn't just something that should work theoretically. I know this works because this is what I do, and I still do it, and I'm still on set, and it's still working. So just have fun with this and trust me.
That is so cool. Well, we're going to end it there. I just want
Okay.
to say to all you actors or wannabes out there, I hope you found this information very informative. 'Cause I sure did, had I been there, knew some of this stuff when I was taking acting classes, I might have gotten somewhere. But as it is, maybe my fate had something else in mind for me, so it doesn't matter. Anyway, yeah, take care, everybody. Be nice and peace out.
Thank you.